Human population growth by Mazmi. The population growth rate is the average annual rate of change of population size during a specific period, measured in percentage in a demographic study. This data is compiled by Department of Economic and Social Affairs of the United Nations Secretariat, derived from the data on birth, death, and migration submitted by countries through demographic consensus. The current population growth is at 7.8 billion people in this world. By 2050, it will be 9.7 billion people, and by 2100, it will be 10.9 billion. So this is an overpopulation because it is a context. The number of populations exceeds the Earth capacity to support humans, living organisms, and ecosystems without environmental degradation. So it is caused by higher birth rates against lower death rates and longer living rate, and also migration activities. So Sustainable Development Goals 2030 is very important because sustainable rapid human population growth linked with rapid human population growth directly impacts on the life and quality of life experienced by individuals due to overpopulation. It's a blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all by 2030. You have 17 SDGs: no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation and infrastructure, reducing inequality, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, life on land, peace, justice, and strong institutions and partnership. So advantages of overpopulation is that we can see greater provision of human resources, contribute towards innovation, socio-economic resources, and global policies to alleviate environment degradation. Innovations and adaptation will result better living conditions, efficient use of energy and resources. Huge number of population increase military might and size, and also military weaponry technology and supplies. Consumer production will increase within lesser time as skilled workers would accelerate access. So disadvantages of population would be purchasing power enables commercialization of goods and services that are exclusive to people in developed countries. Lands are being overdeveloped to make way for houses, which management, and also to support human lifestyle in urban cities. They pose a lot of problems such as limited access to public service, healthcare, and overcrowding and unemployment. So land and soil degradation for industrialization that causes greenhouse gases. So human population growth in Malaysia is at 32.7 million in 2020. It was 24.1 in 2001 and 41.5 in 2040. So it means that as a population grows, Malaysia is facing environmental degradation and the effects of energy consumption to accommodate the growing population in terms of social and economic activities. Thank you very much.
Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera. I am Muhammad Syamuddin Shah bin Zainal Abidin. I will present about the type of energy demand by the society and energy sources. From the Malaysia Sankey Diagram 2014, from Chong et al. 2019, the main energy demand in Malaysia is electricity. For example, used in industrial, commercial, resident and others. The second is oil product. They used in transportation, agriculture, fishery, industrial and others. And then other energy like natural gas, coal and LNG. The source of energy is bioenergy, crude oil, natural gas, coal, hydro, solar, and Malaysia also import energy from other country. For electricity, they use in industrial sector, for example, metal sector, non-metal sector, chemical, food, equipment, paper, textile, wood, and others. Then commercial sector, for example, cooling space, appliance, cooking gas, and others. Then resident for cooling, cooking, water heating, equipment for house. Then the secondly is oil product. For example, mainly used for engine, gasoline engine, diesel engine, natural gas engine, aircraft engine. Then also used in industrial sector, metal sector, non-metal sector, chemical, food, equipment, paper, textile, wood and others. And also used in agriculture and fishery. Three main sources in Malaysia is coal, oil and gas. Okay, from the literature, this country only has 33 years of natural gas storage and 19 years of oil storage with continuous use and increase over time. Although Malaysia has many coal reserve, but the main problem is the location. Location found for the coal mostly found in the rural area. This factor that cause Malaysia has to import coal from other country, especially from Indonesia, Australia, China and South Africa. Okay, that's from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to all of you. Today I would like to present my topic. My topic is about environment impact from energy consumption. Okay, first I want to introduce about what is an energy consumption. Energy consumption is the amount of energy of power use, for example, consumption of electric energy in household, factories and buildings, and consumption of fossil fuels such as petroleum in transportation. Energy is divided into renewable energy and non-renewable energy. Renewable energy such as solar and wind are still new in Malaysia and their potential are yet to be utilised. Non-renewable energy such as petroleum that is derived from fossil and natural gas are natural resources that are found in Malaysia, but the rate of current consumption has to be monitored as these resources, if not sustained, will deplete soon. Okay. Energy consumption has impact our environmental adversely. For example, to make way for hydro plant to generate electricity, forests have to be clear. For example, Bakun Dam in Sarawak, Kenyir Dam in Terengganu. The building of this dam has massive forest destruction. Deforestation causes destruction of species, habitats and ecosystem that used to be the homes to animal and plants that are native to the land. Deforestation also causes climate change. Loss of trees and plants alters the ecological system, pollutes water reservoir and alter the temperature of an ecosystem. The Earth has been experiencing climate change since year 1080 and 80 due to deforestation to make way for housing and city development and to accommodate energy resources. Fuel consumption by transportation is yet another example of adverse effect of energy consumption. The byproduct of fuel used in transportation cause air and smoke pollution that are hazardous to human and living things. Okay. Transportation in heavy populated urban area emits harmful carbon monoxide gases into the air due to petrol and diesel use by Shafi'i et al. 2006. It is estimated that around 100 million ton of CO2 is released into the atmosphere each year is due to air transportation, such as commercial flight. Okay, supersonic Concorde jet is very popular commercial flight in European countries due to its speed and its short-term flight journey as much as higher fuel consumption than an average commercial flight. Supersonic flight also cause noise pollution. Okay, industrial part also consume high average energy consumption and negatively impacts the environment. Waste gas emission, waste water discharge, water residue discharge are among the cause of environmental impact due to problem of failed waste management by factories. Okay, after that, pollution rivers due to factory waste, soil erosion and irresponsible waste dumping into our river and lake are impact that in need to dire action. For last but not least, to conclude, this effect have to be addressed immediately to deter the negative impact of energy consumption. Issue of sustainability of energy and resources are yet to be resolved effectively in Malaysia in order to balance the deterioration of our environment, moral and ethic obligation. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, Dr. Norazli. Hi, I'm Muhammad Habibullah bin Yahya. Today I will present about the sustainability technology for energy recovery. So, what is sustainable technology? It means the enhancing our social and environmental effect from the production of raw material to the end of life. So, people wanted to have clean air to breathe, nutritious food to eat, and a comfortable place to live. But technologically speaking, more difficult than simply enhancing the existing design. Not only a single component to be enhanced, but the whole system. Let's say a machine, the whole machine need to change in order to achieve sustainable growth. So, in order to promote sustainability technology, I want to introduce the concept of waste to energy, WTE, based on my literature. According to Kotari et al., different form of waste from agricultural, from plant and animal waste, from industrial waste such as sugar refinery, dairy waste, and confectionery, and also from residential waste, which are kitchen and garden waste, are potential for renewable energy sources, which can be used for waste to energy routes. In Malaysia, as a consequence of its tropical climate, Malaysia being considered as the main exporter of palm oil, which is the primary source of agriculture that can implement the waste to energy from the palm oil biomass waste. So from the palm oil biomass waste, it will can produce biogas by anaerobic digestion, which will produce methane and carbon dioxide. So here I want to focus on the waste to energy concept for agricultural waste and municipal solid waste. So according to Sadeghi et al., the mean composition of Malaysian municipal solid waste (MSW) is 45% food, 24% plastic, 7% paper products, 6% iron, 4% wood, and 3% glass. So the rest at substantial amount is recyclable. The energy of MSW can be generated in two processes, which are thermal decomposition and biological activity. For thermal decomposition, it generates energy in terms of heat, hydrogen, and methane, depending on the process it undergo. So, according to Abdul Kadir et al., since 1996, incineration has been built in Labuan, Langkawi, Pangkor, and Tioman Resort Island in a small scale. So, conversion of MSW to energy by biological approach can be divided into anaerobic digestion and fermentation. So, for the anaerobic digestion, it will produce methane, which is biogas, while for fermentation, will produce ethanol, which we can call as biofuel. So, lastly, for waste to energy from agricultural waste, so I focus on POME, which is palm oil mill effluent, the waste that being generated after the extraction of palm oil. So it consume a lot of water, about approximately 1.5 meter cube of water required for each time, and half of the water being discharged as POME. So, due to its contamination, POME generation and crude palm oil production have created an environmental problem. So, POME is a source of great potential with a high organic content. POME generally handled with open ponding system without collecting biogas. So, biogas can be produced by anaerobic digestion of POME, so in which it can substitute palm kernel shell and mesocarp fiber with a higher economic value than boiler fuel. And it also can be upgraded to power generation in the gas engine. So that's all from me. Thank you. Assalamualaikum, Dr. Norazli. I'm Muhammad Habibullah bin Yahya.
And I'm Muhammad Syamuddin Shah bin Zainal Abidin.
Today we will present about the pollution control. So this is the introduction. So in parallel with population growth, the consumption of energy increase. So due to the increase in energy consumption, the generation of electricity is in demand. So the that will contribute to the rises of greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrogen oxide. So, due to the rise of greenhouse gases, it will lead to the global warming and climate change. So, for the pollution control, I focus on the wastewater treatment. So what is wastewater? Wastewater can be considered as used water which need to be treated to ensure it is safe to be released in environment. In Malaysia, the biggest sources of industrial wastewater are food and beverage producers, chemical-based industries, textile, paper, rubber, and palm oil processing. So I give an example for the natural rubber industry and palm oil industry. So for the production of natural rubber products, it require a large amount of water to work. So due to the large amount of water, it will produce a lot of effluent. So the effluent need to be treated. So the treatment using the biological techniques such as pond technology, aerobic and anaerobic process. So this is the widely used treatment system in Malaysia. So other alternative biological techniques are water hyacinth and water lettuce, which is using a plant for the treatment of the effluents. So next, the oil extraction process produce liquid waste known as palm oil mill effluent (POME). This is POME will produce from the oil extraction of palm oil. So the method of oil extraction is non-toxic since no chemical is being added, but the effluent from the oil extraction product can cause water pollution in Malaysia. So we need to pre-treatment the POME using several stages such as screening, sedimentation, oil and oil removal. So the combination of two acidification pond and flocculation treatment is an effective pre-treatment process. Afterwards, we need to use the anaerobic process for the treatment of POME since POME is high in organic content. So the using the aerobic reactor, it can maintain the biomass and have a high processing potential and low site requirements.
Okay, for the air pollution control, first, increase the use of renewable energy. For example, increase the use of solar, biomass, hydroelectric. Second, improve the public transport. For example, MRT, LRT, train in more widely. Third, increase the use of electric and hybrid car to replace the petrol car. Then lastly, improve the biodiesel use as a diesel substitute for a replacement engine diesel. Okay, for the soil pollution control, first, government regulation. Second, recycling method to control the waste. Then lastly, knowledge the use of green technology to university, school, worker, manufacturing worker and also farm worker. Okay, that's all from us. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, Dr.
Environmental ethics, our view. Environmental ethics in the age of Anthropocene. We are currently living in the age whereby the humans' carbon footprints have been the dominant impacts on the Earth's surface. We can no longer take for granted that the environment that we live in now would continue to exist unchanging or unceasing, but we must take the responsibility to sustain and ameliorate the destruction that we have been implicating on the environment. Our stand in environmental ethics, we stand to argue that humans have the moral obligations and the utmost integrity and responsibility to develop and practice social policies that not only limited to remedy the earth degradation resulted from humans' activities, but strongly advocates the means and practical solutions to protect the earth environment. So this puts forward humans' obligation to ensure that our exploitation of world resources must be balanced with defined responsibility and tabling the necessary and much needed accountabilities on the wide effects of exploitation of ecological. So the focus of our report is to build around the understanding that environmental ethics is significant to understand the consequential effects of human activities that have repercussions on our world's resources and including us as part of the ecosystems. Sustainability being the key survival for the current and future inhabitants is very challenging, politically and socially dominated by humans, and therefore is subjected either to be practiced with integrity and responsibility or manipulated and mangled by humanistic greed and power. So our core belief that environmental ethics is not only a form of rhetoric discussion, we must implement tangible actions that are ethical and scientifically based. So we must have discussion on evidence-based research, and we have to have finance the proper solutions, and we have to take into considerations the detrimental impacts of environmental pollutions to the developing and the least developing countries being the marginalized and the receiver of the. Our conclusion is that we must perceive this discipline as pertinent and integral for sustainability. So moral and ethical obligations are distinctly different from social and political obligations. It is implementing justified stance, attitudes and efforts to ensure that our earth is respected and conserved. If we fail to honor this and fulfill this commitment, then depletion and degenerations would singularly be deserted for our mother earth. Thank you very much.